Hi, welcome to task 2 of my industry assessment, artist role. Now, the job of an artist consists of a lot of responsibilities and a lot of things you need to be prepared for. The first travel. Now, you may be wondering why you have to be willing to travel to be an artist. Well, it's mostly because you never know where you're going to find your fans. And you're going to need to do live gigs to be able to expand your fan base and to get revenue from sales. Now, this can happen all over the world. You may get popular enough to do a world tour. You may be asked to be the opening band for some band that's going on tour. You just have to be available wherever you are needed. And that means traveling a lot. The next fan base. Now, it is hard to build up a fan base, especially when you don't quite know what you're doing, which is why artists always need to be confident and social. They need to show their fans the kind of person they are, and they need to be able to gain that fan base with good music, good publicity. People say that even bad publicity is publicity. But if you look at the way that a lot of artists nowadays are being called out for terrible behaviour, and people have started boycotting those artists, not listening to them and their songs because they've done terrible things. You really need to keep up your fan base. Make sure they're always intrigued, always want to hear the next song and the next album, and want to be at your shows, because your fan base is your only source of income. They're the people that listen to you. They're the people that you are basically dedicating your life to please. So it's basically everything you're responsible for. And depending on how popular you are, that can be a lot of people. Next, public relations. This ties in a lot with fan base, but also with other people you may be working with. Nobody wants to work with an artist they're not going to get along with, they're not going to see eye to eye with. The thing about music is that it brings people together and it conveys emotion. Well, most music conveys emotion. And if you're working with people who don't feel that emotion, who don't respect what you're trying to put across in your songs, it can lead to a lot of discourse. You could even start to hate the song that you're doing. There have been a lot of musicians who have had to work with people they don't quite get along with, and that song, no matter how good it is, will always hold that little bit of sadness to it, because you want to have fun making music. And you need to keep that public presence, and what you do in public agreeable. You need to be able to be a good person. Because if you're not, your fan base won't like you, no one will want to travel with you, you won't get any job offers, and you'll basically fail as an artist. It's a lot to make sure that everybody who matters has a positive opinion of you. But it's one of the best things you can do for your career. The next, industry contacts. Now, industry contacts can be important depending on what kind of artist you are. They're always important, but the level varies. Say if you're an independent artist, you publish your own music, you market your own music, you might still need industry contacts so that you can get tips and tricks on how to do it successfully from other artists, publishers. And if you're struggling, those people will be there and you can call on them to help. If you're one of the artists that only writes their songs but never wants to perform them, you need industry contacts so that you can sell those songs to other artists and other companies so that they can get your song out there. Industry contacts basically builds a community that helps each other. Say if a band is going around performing and they need an opening band. They need a contact in the industry, another band that will do that for them. And maybe if that band knows you and you get that, then they'll open for you in a different place. And you can just build up that community of support with the contact in the industry. It's extremely hard to be a musician and not know any musicians. Say if you're going on tour but suddenly one of your instrumentalists gets sick and they can't play. You need someone who can play at a moment's notice. Or, if that's you, you need to make sure those people have your contact information so that they can contact you at a moment's notice and you can be available for them. It's building up friendships with other musicians that really expands how many people get to hear you and what kind of opportunities you have. Then, there's the workload. There is a huge workload for artists. You need to be able to create your own music. You can't just be a cover band forever. You need to perform your music, go around, get gigs, play music wherever you can. You need to release your music. There are a lot of revenue sites which a lot of people go on that you need to use and utilize to make sure you are getting heard. You need to have talent, because if you don't have talent, no one will want to listen to you. You need to have knowledge of what you are doing, the industry that you're in, because if you make a mistake, you'll lose a ton of listeners. You need to be skilled in all of these things, and it can get pretty overwhelming. You need to do regular practice to make sure you know the songs, you know what you're doing, and at a moment's notice, you can perform flawlessly. You need to perform a lot. You need to have that stamina and that dedication, no matter how much your voice hurts to keep singing, no matter how many blisters you have on your fingers from playing guitar, you need to keep playing. And it's that stamina and that dedication that you really need to hold on to. If you don't have those skills and that dedication, you're just going to flop as an artist. No one will want to listen to you. No one will want to work with you because you don't put in the effort. A lot of people think it's very easy to be an artist because you just have to do something and then you're done. But that's not true. You need to have a lot of people skills to be able to talk to all these people. You need to have that confidence that people will like your music so you can go up on stage and perform. There's writing. You need to be a good writer. If you're writing original content, you need to come up with all the guitar riffs, you need to come up with the drum patterns, you need to come up with the lyrics and the melody. Everything is riding on you or your band. And that is a lot of pressure. And even people who play instruments have a lot of pressure on them. Because even if they're not a part of the band, just a random instrumentalist, they could get called at any moment to come and be a session musician, just play something quickly for some big shot who needs a guitar riff in the background and doesn't know what to do. And so at a moment's notice, you need to be ready to put everything into a project and come up with something amazing on the spot to actually add something substantial to a piece of music that possibly millions of people will listen to. And you need to be strong. You need to be strong because no matter how hard you try, you can still fail. No matter how hard you try, people may not like your music, and it might take a long time for your band or just an individual artist to get off the ground. You can try everything and you still might fail. You could try everything and succeed, and that would be amazing, but it'll take a while. The amount of musicians who have more than one job just to support themselves and do music as a hobby because they can't get proper revenue off it is astounding. You need to make public appearances. You need to make sure people know you. You need to advertise yourself as a product. Make sure you've got the look. Make sure you've got everything you need to be amazing. And it can cost a lot of money. A good guitar could cost you thousands. A good amp, very hard to come by, and they sometimes break and you'll need to know how to repair them. Going out and getting studios to rehearse in can cost you. A lot of things can cost an artist just to get off their feet. And then there is revenue. Money for an artist comes from a few different things. There's royalties from every time their song is played, but royalties aren't a good source of income anymore. For Spotify, you get paid maybe 1/6 of a penny for a stream. No matter how many streams you get, unless you are incredibly popular, it is not going to be sustainable, especially since you're only paid for that month. And then there's merchandise. You do have to pay to get merch for your band. You need to pay printers, you need to pay designers, you need to pay a ton of people to get merchandise, and then keep paying those people to produce the merch so that your fans can buy it and purchase it, and maybe you get a cut of the profit. There's licensing fees. So you may sell your song, but then you may not own it anymore. And some of those royalties you'll have to share with the people you sold it to. You have to spend money on advertising, gigs, all of these different things you have to spend money on. In fact, artists nowadays are not getting the amount of money they should be from performing. So their main source of income is playing live, which obviously right now a lot of artists can't do. But they still have to get those gigs, they still have to sell those tickets to their fan base. A lot of work goes into being an artist. It's an extremely taxing and demanding job. The only reason a lot of people choose to be an artist is because it's their dream. It's because being an artist means they're going to be heard. They can express themselves through music. Even though some artists just do it to become famous. And a lot of them don't quite get there. The amount of failed musicians is probably astounding, but we'll never know that number because they've failed. Very few bands actually get popular. And maybe it's because the revenue stream is terrible and they don't quite understand that. Or they don't understand how much the workload is. Or they don't have enough industry contacts. Their public relations aren't that great. Maybe they're not great people. They can't build a fan base. Maybe they're unable to travel. All of these things make an artist. But there's still that tiny little spark of just something that you need to have. Something that makes people want to see you, makes people want to hear you. Maybe talent or skill. Maybe it's just who you are. But there's just that something that you have to have as an artist. So, this is an artist's role in the music industry. Stay tuned for part 2.